So we're now on the top of Chav Beis, Omud Beis. And we're analyzing the words of the Mishnah regarding a mamzer that says, Achiv hu l'chol dov. Lamai hilchas. The Gemara asks, what halacha is the Mishnah teaching me regarding this mamzer that he has the status of an ach for all dinim? And the Gemara explains the yarsho and litamela. Number one, if his brother dies and he leaves an estate, then his brother, who's a mamzer, will now inherit the estate. And furthermore, litamelo, there's a separate chiyuv on a brother that even if in event he's a kohen, he will contaminate himself for the purpose of levayas hames and kfuras hames, and that will apply even to a brother who's a mamzer. So the Gemara asks, Pshita achivu. Why did you have to add this achivu l'chol davar to be marbe yarsho and l'tamila? If he's a brother, then he's a brother. My answer is chasal kedai chamina. And now the Gemara is going to focus its attention on a kohen being mitame for the burial of his brother who's a mamzer. Chasal kedai chamina hol uksiv in the parsha of Kohen. The Torah says that there are various relatives for which the Kohen is allowed to be mitame to the burial. Im she'era korov elov yomamar she'erozu ishto. So Torah was matir a Baal, who's a Kohen, to be mitame for his wife. And in the very next pasuk, siv lo yitami Baal bi'amav lehechelo, that he's not allowed to be mitame himself. In a case of ishto shemachaleles oso, and that's the word lehechelo. So what does lehechelo mean? He should not be mitame to a kohen to his wife, and we'll see what that means in a minute. Yesh baal shemitame, v'yesh baal she'eno mitame. Right? On the one hand, it says l'she'era karavelov, meaning that a Kohen Baal is mitame for the burial of his wife. On the other hand, you're telling me lo yitami Baal bi'amav lehechel. Okay, so how do I reconcile this apparent contradiction? And the Gemara answers, mitame hule ishtok shera. If he was allowed, this Kohen, to marry this woman, then he's mitame to her with her death. But eina mitame lishto psula. If there's a woman that he's not allowed to be married to, then when she dies, he has no heter to be mitame himself for the burial of his wife, who's an illegal wife. And hacha nami. Now we can explain the havamina why we would think that a brother is not mitame to his brother after his death, who's a mamzer. Mitame hule ach kosher ve'enu mitame lach posel kamashmo. You would think that for an ach posel, just like a baal, for an ishto psul is not mitame if he's a kohen. So too, if his ach is not kosher, he's not mitame. The emachinami. So how do you know that that's not true? Maybe the Torah would prohibit a kohen to be mitame for the sake of his ach, who is posel, he's a mamzer. And the Gemara answers, let's differentiate between an ishto psula and an ach psula. Chasam, when the Torah says that a Baal is not allowed to be mitame for his wife, if she's a psula, is lafuke kamaisa, lafuke kaima. He has to divorce his wife. Hacha achifu. But in the case of two brothers, one of whom is a mamzer, they're brothers, and the brotherhood, the achar relationship, is not broken up by the fact that he's possible. Only in the case of ishto psula, because there we're going to obligate him to terminate the marriage relationship, never again. The Mishnah says, Chutz mi sheyesh lo ach min hashivcho min ovedes kochavim. That's not considered a brother if he was born through an illegitimate marriage with a non-Jewish woman. My timer, Omar, and the Gemara answers, but Omar Kra, Hoisha v'yoledeha tiyena tiyeh ladonel. So now we're in the parsha of a Jewish man that was sold as an Eved Ivri, and his master gave him a shivcha, and there were children born from that relationship. Now it's time for him, the Eved, to terminate his avdus, and he goes out alone from the house of his master. He's now free, he's a Ben Chorin. But Ha'isha, as far as his wife is concerned, and as well the children that he had through this wife, Tiyeh la'adonel. They are avodim. There's no yichus to the father. He goes out alone. And that's the source for the halach of Yibum. That Mishi Yeshlo Ach Min HaShivcha, there's no achva relationship. And there's no din of Yibum. And we saw it from this pasuk, Isha v'yoladeo tiyel adonel, that the Shivcha goes back to the master, and any children that she gave birth to go back to the master, because she and her children are not miyuchasim to the Jewish Eved. The Mishnah says, Mishiyeshlo ben mikol makom poter, seishes aviv min hayibum mikol makom lasuye mai. Again, we're going to ask that question, why the extra words mikol makom? Amar Rav Yehuda lasuye mamzer. Even if Reuven left behind him after his death a brother Shimon who's a mamzer, nevertheless, there's no yibum. If he left a son who's a mamzer, there's no yibum. My timer, the Omar Kra uben einlo. It says ki yeshvu achim yachtav umeis achavi ben einlo lo sia eish sameis achutzu lizar should be yibum. Now there's an extra letter in this word ein, and that is the letter yud. It could have said uben einlo with a tsere under the aleph. We didn't need a yud after the aleph, and therefore we're going to darshan the word ein. Le'ayin olav. Check him out carefully to see if he doesn't have any brothers. Any sons, any children. Only if after you were ma'ayin and you found that he has no children, then there's a mitzvah yibum. But if he left a child, even if that child is a mamzer, then there's no yibum. Now, in the case of a mamzer, the Mishnah says chayav al makos or amai. Why is a mamzer chayav misa if he wounds his father? I don't get it. Kriba kan v'nasi bi'amcha lo sar. The Isser of Klola only applies to the Osa Maisa Amcha. And his father was not an Osa Maisa Amcha because he's a mamzer. Gemara answers, Kira Omer Pinchas Mishmeider of Papa. The Osa Tshuva knows, even though he gave birth to a mamzer, but nevertheless he did Tshuva. And he's now included and reinstated into Osa Maisa Amcha. It's Hachanamik Shasa Tshuva. V'hai bar Tshuva he? How is it possible for a man who had an immoral relationship and there was a child born who's a mamzer, how can he do Tshuva? Shimon Patnan, Shimon ben Menasya Omer, the Mishnah Chagiga. We had it not long ago, maybe 5 weeks ago. Ezu ma'uvas lo yuchal liskon a poskin koheles. It's something that was made crooked. You can't straighten it out. Ze'ah bola erev holid min a mamzer. I mean, once he's a mamzer, there's nothing you can do. Your sin has had a permanent impact that's irreversible. More answers, but hashtamia o osa maisamchahu. You're right. It is a case of ma'uves lo yuchal liskon, but nevertheless, he could do tshuva. And he could reinstate himself in the category of osa maisa amcha. Therefore, if you, the son, the mamzer, curses his father, he's chayiv misa. Okay, so we'll have to stop here today. We didn't get to finish Chaf Beis Amid Beis. Hopefully we'll finish it later on today. And we got up to Tanu Rabbanan, Abba al Achosa. Okay, then that's where we're going to stop for this morning. Not for today, but for this morning. Okay, have a great day.